Hey up and welcome to this video. As you can see, we've gone out into the Peak District for sunny intervals photography, and it's exactly what it says: photography during sunny intervals. Now, as well as sunny intervals today, we also had some very, very high wind, and whilst driving up into the Peak District, it was 21 degrees in the car. When I got onto the top of Higger Tor, as you can see here, it felt like a wind chill. It felt more like 5 or 6 degrees. So the wind was disruptive. I didn't record any sound for obvious reasons. I don't see the point of recording sound. I think it spoils a video when you're trying to listen to what people are saying, and sometimes it's nice to record the sound because you've got the nice relaxing sounds of the countryside. There was no relaxing sounds in the Peak District on this day. However, we'll see later on, the wind did come in useful. So looking back at this first composition then, quite a basic shot, not a great deal of dark shadows in the image, and I suppose when we look at sunny interval photography, I'm looking for dark and light to be in the picture. That's what I'm trying to capture. So in this first shot, it was a little bit of a warm-up shot. I think it was ISO 200, 1/200th of a second, because the wind was moving all the foliage. So we'd got sunny intervals, we'd got wind. So if there was going to be any foliage in the foreground, that was going to have movement. So I probably needed to avoid that unless I set a high shutter speed. So for me, yeah, the first test shot is important because it sets the parameters of what settings you're going to have on the camera. We then moved into a different part of Higger Tor. We've now moved on to the eastern side of Higger Tor, and we're looking towards Burbage North, and down in this valley we've got this small piece of woodland, and in this composition I really want to get that woodland just with a little bit of sunlight on it, just illuminate it. Now I've picked these rocks as foreground, and to be honest, I'm not very happy with that assembly of rocks. I'm not happy at all. We'll see how it comes out in processing. So a little bit of patience needed for sunny interval photography. Here is a sequence of raw shots, and we simply just take image after image until we get that light in the right place, and when it's in the right place we get an image just like this. So on the compass, we've now moved around facing south on Higger Tor, and in the distance we've got Hathersage village. And in this composition I was looking at the hillside that kind of slants upwards, and the light was catching that hillside very nicely. So here you can see the raw files that I took, and the light didn't change that much really in this scene, but it always seemed to be catching that particular hillside, which I did like. So that gave us the following image after editing, and it's okay. I wasn't quite too happy with it, so what I decided to do was put my 70-200 lens on, and the lens was set at 130mm, and this pulled in close to this slanting hillside, and with a little farmhouse in the bottom of the image, I felt this gave a much stronger and more compact composition. Do you remember the first composition in the video where we'd got the hillside and we'd got the compressed background? Well, this is the same hillside, but we've now moved further around, and this gives us a view in the background of Stanage Hedge. Now that to me is a much nicer, a much stronger composition. So we've got the 70-200 lens on here, and I'm playing around with various focal lengths. And this is pretty much at 200mm, and again we're waiting for that light to fall in the right place to give us some variations in the scene. And mostly while I was waiting, the foreground hillside seemed to stay with light, and it was the background that was changing. But I did get some nice enough light to give me two images to choose from, and I'd like some feedback on these two images. Which one do you like? So pop a comment in the bottom. I will put these images back up again at the end so you can compare them. So this is the first image, this is image A, and we've got some dappled light on Stanage Edge, and yeah, I do like this shot. Then we've got picture B, and this has got a lot more light on Stanage Edge, but we have got some shadows in between breaking up the image. So which one do you like? Pop a comment in the bottom. Turn around now to face Car Walk in the distance, and in front of me I've got this assembly of rocks that I thought looked quite nice for foreground. They certainly look better than the previous shot where I tried to use some rocks. And again, I waited for the light to come and go, but in this instance I didn't really get the light I wanted. It was all or nothing. It was on Car Walk, not on the rocks, or vice versa. So in this image I felt that the result was that there was too much light in the scene for the effect I was looking for from sunny intervals. I'm now crouched down at the top of the path that leads from Higger Tor down to Car Walk, and I've got a view, quite a nice view actually, but I didn't get the light in this shot. The light would just not come onto those foreground rocks, which was really disappointing, because I felt it would be a nice shot with a little bit of light on the rocks. So we don't always get what we want. So in processing, this was the raw file on the left that I picked, and the image on the right is the edited version. Now I did brush in some light on the bottom half of that image. Now again, I'd like some audience participation here. Do you think that the light I've painted in looks realistic in this scene? That's the question. I'm not too sure. That's what I'd like. It's always good to get opinions from your own images. So pop your opinion in the comments. Does it look realistic? the variety of images available to capture from Car Walk are not as abundant as they are on Higger Tor. However, you do get a nice view back looking at Higger Tor. So in this composition we've assembled some rocks in the foreground with a view of Higger Tor behind, and this I was quite pleased with this. There is some darks and lights in the image, and yeah, I'm quite happy with that. I've got some nice light on Higger Tor itself, and the clouds had some impact in this image. Now I also did a long exposure here and converted to black and white. So here's that image. So this was a 20-second exposure, and I really expected more movement in the clouds at 20 seconds, but it does look like the clouds are fighting towards you in this shot. So it's quite dramatic, and it really makes the dark peak look exactly like it is. On top of Car Walk, there's a little bit of history, and there's an old Roman hill fort from 2,000 years ago. What's left of it is very much a pile of rocks, and I thought, let's try and bring this into a composition. So there was no view really from this side of it, so I went on top of the rocks and looked back towards Higger Tor. Now, I've not brought my wide angle lens with me, and I wanted to get the whole length of the rocks in the bottom of the image with Higger Tor behind, but 24mm was just not delivering the image I wanted, and I really did want that wider composition. I felt it would look better than just the 24mm with half the rocks in. Now, there did turn out to be a solution to this, and let's just talk through that solution. Okay, at this point I had a problem, because I wanted to get the whole length of rocks into the foreground with Higger Tor in the background, and at 24mm I couldn't get all the rocks in. As you can see here, this was at 24mm. So to get the composition into the frame, I would have had to have stepped further back at 24mm, and I would have fell down quite a severe drop, which wouldn't have been good. But then I thought, what about trying a pano? I know panos, we normally take great vistas with panos, but what about doing a pano here just to get that length of rock in? And I did, and it worked, and I was pleased with that. Here's the pano shot. then made my way back up onto Higger Tor to assess the sunset composition that I'd looked at earlier, and unfortunately the sky was now clear of cloud. It was virtually wall-to-wall blue sky, so I decided to call it a day and make my way home. Okay, so no sunset, but it's not the end of the world. I'd had a good afternoon session and sort of early evening, and I got images I was pleased with. And I learnt a couple of things really on this shoot. One, that the wind can be your friend in the right circumstances, and two, panos aren't always panos. You can use them to capture compositions that are near to you. And I've probably been in situations in the past where I could have done that and got the shot I wanted to do. So that was a really important learning for me on this shoot, and it's great to learn new things. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you like this content, share the video, pop a comment in the bottom, particularly of which picture you prefer and why, A or B. Next video, I've not planned the next video as yet. I'm sitting here at the minute just producing and editing this video. We're in a heat wave. It is 40 degrees outside and there's going to be no photography for the next few days. So the next video could be a macro photography, or it could be a sunset, some sunset photography. I'm working on two little projects at the minute that I've been working on in the background. So that's it. If you've been out in the heat, or you're out in the heat, then stay cool and look after yourself, and I'll see you later.